Hollywood just can't keep its secrets, can it? One day you're running a gossip empire, the next day you're the gossip. And Jason Lee just found that out the hard way. Yes, the self-proclaimed king of Hollywood tea, the man who built an empire spilling everybody else's business, is now in handcuffs himself. You can't make this up, and the plot twist? His arrest isn't just about shady millions allegedly disappearing. It's got Beyoncé and Jay Z's names dragged right into the scandal. Yup, the Carters. The couple so private, they won't even show you a proper baby picture unless it's staged like Renaissance artwork. Suddenly, they're at the center of Jason Lee's viral downfall. Social media detonated. Twitter timelines flooded like Noah's Ark 2.0. TikTok creators reenacted the arrest before the mugshot even dropped. And Instagram meme pages started pumping out edits faster than Kris Jenner can spin a scandal. This isn't just tea. This is boiling lava. A man who thrived on exposing secrets is now accused of hiding his own, and the fact that Beyoncé and Jay Z are even whispered in the same sentence? Baby, this makes the Kardashians look like a quiet book club. Grab your snacks, because this saga, it's pure chaos, deluxe edition. Jason Lee's brand has always been built on one thing: mess. Hollywood Unlocked wasn't just a gossip blog, it was his playground. He dragged celebs, exposed secrets, and turned whispers into viral headlines faster than you could say, exclusive tea. But this time, Jason didn't control the headline. The headline controlled him. And the headline read, Jason Lee arrested in multi-million-dollar scandal. Beyoncé and Jay Z named in connection. The irony was so delicious it practically wrote itself. The Gossip King dethroned by gossip. The man who made a living clowning others now found himself clowned by the entire internet. Twitter didn't just react, it combusted. Memes popped up showing Jason in an orange jumpsuit clutching a mic, with captions like, "Exclusive, Jason Lee reports live from Cell Block D, but let's rewind," because the setup is juicier than the punchline. According to early reports, Jason Lee was arrested after investigators claimed millions had mysteriously gone missing from one of his media ventures. Now, let's be honest, when you hear millions and Jason Lee in the same sentence, you expect him to be spilling on someone else's scandal, not starring in one. Yet here we are, then came the whispers. Those oh-so-perfect whispers that make scandals irresistible. Allegedly, Jason wasn't just pocketing money, he was tangled in high-level Hollywood dealings that somehow circled back to Beyoncé and Jay Z, the Carters, the billionaire couple who could buy and sell Hollywood with one wire transfer. People speculated, was Jason laundering money through industry connections? Was he caught in a Carter power play? Did Beyoncé herself have him on speed dial like, "Run me my check, Jason?" Theories multiplied like roaches. Some swore Beyoncé and Jay Z set him up as revenge for that infamous moment when Jason claimed Queen Bey was out of touch. Others insisted Jason tried to cross them. And the Carters don't just clap back, they erase. Twitter trended with wild hashtags, Bayhive Revenge, to Jason Lee setup, and my personal favorite, to Jay Z pulled the strings. The first wave of reactions? Pure comedy. TikTok creators staged fake reenactments of Beyoncé calmly dialing 911 in a diamond-studded robe saying, "Yes, officer, arrest him." He messed with the wrong hive. Another viral video had Jay Z rapping courtroom bars over a beat, dragging Jason in autotune. The internet didn't wait for facts. It went straight to meme warfare. And yet, the seriousness of it loomed. Reports claimed Jason could be facing fraud-related charges tied to financial mismanagement. Translation? Somebody thinks he stole money, and not just a little. Millions. The word itself hit like a bomb. Because it's one thing to get arrested for a bar fight or a DUI, but millions missing? That's not just scandal. That's empire shaking. Of course, Jason being Jason, his fans pulled out receipts of his old interviews where he bragged about being untouchable. Clips circulated of him saying, "I got Hollywood in the palm of my hand. They can't silence me." Well, apparently the cops could. Memes slapped handcuffs on that quote with the caption, "Guess they found the palm." But what really fueled the fire was the Carter connection. Beyoncé and Jay Z don't get dragged into gossip. They live above it. They curate their image tighter than Fort Knox, so when their names popped up alongside Jason's arrest, the internet smelled blood. Theories turned darker. Maybe Jason had dirt on them. Maybe he threatened to leak something. Maybe the Carters cut him off financially, and this was payback. Nobody knew the truth. But when has that ever stopped the culture from cooking? Fans split into camps. Team Jason argued he was framed, that Beyoncé and Jay Z were pulling strings to silence him. Team Carters laughed at the idea, calling it career suicide to even think the Carters would waste time on Jason. And then there were the trolls, posting photoshopped mugshots of Jason with Beyoncé's Grammy trophies in the background, claiming caught red-handed stealing from the Queen. The gossip cycle didn't just spin, it spiraled. Every hour brought a new insider dropping shady details. One blog claimed Jason had been seen bragging about high connections weeks before the arrest. Another insisted Beyoncé's team had him blacklisted from major events long ago. Whether true or not, it didn't matter. The narrative was written. Jason Lee thought he was untouchable, and now he was very, very touched by handcuffs. And the reactions weren't limited to fans. Celebrities started chirping too. Charlamagne Tha God joked on The Breakfast Club. Jason Lee always said he had the tea. Turns out the tea was stolen. Wendy Williams' old clips were resurrected, with fans editing them to look like she was warning us about Jason's downfall. Even obscure reality stars weighed in, chasing clout off Jason's misery like vultures circling fresh roadkill. But the funniest part? Jason's own platform, Hollywood Unlocked, had to cover the scandal. Imagine being the intern forced to write, "Jason Lee arrested in $1 million case." The comment sections lit up with clown emojis, popcorn gifs, and savage one-liners. Breaking news! Jason Lee exposed by Jason Lee. Through it all, one question loomed. How much of this was real? And how much was just the internet's fantasy playground? Was Jason actually tied to financial crimes? Or was this blown out of proportion, with the Carter connection added just to make the scandal juicier? Either way, perception is reality in Hollywood. And right now, the perception was brutal. The Gossip King had become the gossip clown. If Jason Lee thought the initial headlines were bad, the internet made sure the sequel was 10 times worse. His arrest didn't just trend, it became a global event. A digital Super Bowl where the only teams were Jason the victim versus Jason the villain, and the referees were Beyoncé's hive of 50 million unpaid Twitter lawyers. The Bay Hive showed up first, armed with receipts, gifts, and enough buzzing bee emojis to crash comment sections across every platform. They plastered his old interviews everywhere, the ones where Jason bragged about his influence, or worse, shaded Beyoncé. One clip resurfaced where he said, "Beyoncé ain't as connected as y'all think she is." That was it. That was the nail in the coffin. The Hive swarmed, captioning the clip with lines like, "Connected enough to have you arrested, boo." Meme culture exploded. One viral image showed Jason behind bars while Beyoncé posed outside the cell in full Renaissance tour costume, smirking. Caption, "When you come for the Queen, but the Queen sends you to county." Another edit showed Jay Z playing Monopoly, sliding go-to-jail cards with Jason's face on them. Fans weren't just laughing, they were annihilating. Meanwhile, celebrity reactions poured in like confetti. 50 Cent, never one to miss a trolling opportunity, posted a photo of Jason's alleged mugshot with the caption, "You wanted the smoke? Now you got the fire. LOL." The Shade Room reposted it, and the comment section turned into a digital roast session. Cardi B, who once had ties with Jason through Hollywood Unlocked, stayed quiet at first, but her silence was just as loud as a clapback. Fans flooded her mentions. "Sis, you gon' say something?" When she finally posted a cryptic story, "Sometimes silence says it all," the internet lost its mind. Blogs ran with it. Cardi shades Jason amid arrest. Whether she meant him or not didn't matter. The narrative had been locked. Even Wendy Williams, yes, the retired queen of daytime mess, had her old clips recycled as if she'd predicted this moment. Fans edited her infamous "death to all of them" rant with Jason's name in the caption. It became a trending sound on TikTok. People lip-synced it while pointing to Jason's face, pulling millions of views. But it wasn't just mockery. The scandal sparked serious debates. Twitter threads popped up with titles like, "The Rise and Fall of Jason Lee and Why You Don't Cross Beyoncé." Particularly viral thread argued Jason had been asking for this ever since he inserted himself into A-list, circles he didn't belong in. It listed every messy Jason headline, from the fake Queen Elizabeth died fiasco to his digs at celebs bigger than him. By the end, readers weren't even surprised he'd been arrested. They were shocked it took this long. Jason's own Hollywood Unlocked page was under siege. Every post was hijacked with bee emojis, clown emojis, and comments like, "Breaking news, Hollywood Unlocked, Jason locked." When the platform dared to cover someone else's scandal, fans spammed, "Worry about your boss in county." His empire of gossip had officially turned into a joke factory. Theories got wilder by the day. Some swore Jason was sitting on unreleased dirt about Beyoncé and Jay Z, and the Carters crushed him before it leaked. Others argued he'd been set up as a distraction from some bigger Hollywood secret. And then there were the conspiracists who took it too far, claiming, "This is the Illuminati showing power moves. Whether you laughed, gasped, or rolled your eyes, you couldn't escape it." Jason Lee had become the internet's favorite case study. Even the late-night comedy circuit jumped in. One host joked, "Jason Lee said Beyoncé wasn't powerful. Now he's got more bars than Jay Z." The crowd erupted. Another quipped, "Jason Lee out here stealing millions. Beyoncé and Jay Z call that pocket change." Suddenly, Jason wasn't just a gossip figure. He was mainstream mockery, the punchline on every platform. But perhaps the most brutal reaction came from the fans themselves. Ordinary people who'd once consumed Jason's gossip flipped on him like sour milk. TikTok circulated with captions like, "When the gossiper becomes the gossip." Instagram reels showed people throwing teacups into trash cans, symbolizing his downfall. The man who once defined messy was now being dragged through the mud by his own audience. And then came the merch. Because in 2025, no scandal is complete without Etsy shops monetizing it. T-shirts appeared with slogans like "Jason locked" and "Beyoncé pulled the strings." Coffee mugs with Jason's face behind bars sold out in hours. One vendor even sold get-out-of-jail-free cards with Jason's name printed on them. The internet didn't just cancel him, it commodified his downfall. Through all the noise, Jason himself tried to fight back. Reports claimed he called into a friend's podcast from jail, denying everything and insisting, "This is a setup. I've always told the truth, and now they're trying to silence me." But the damage was done. Screenshots of the quote went viral with clown emojis and captions like, "Sir, this isn't Hollywood Unlocked, it's Hollywood Unlocked Up." The outrage also took a darker turn. Think pieces questioned whether gossip culture had finally eaten itself alive. Commentators argued that Jason represented the toxic cycle of clout chasing, exposing others until the spotlight turned on him. Podcasts debated whether gossip blogs like his were crumbling under the weight of their own hypocrisy. And hovering above it all were Beyoncé and Jay Z silent, untouched, unbothered. Their lack of response became its own storyline. Fans speculated, were they ignoring it because it was beneath them, or because they really were the puppet masters behind it all? The mystery only fueled the scandal further. Every new Beyoncé photo, every Jay Z sighting was dissected like coded messages. One paparazzi shot of Jay Z smirking while holding a cigar went viral with the caption, "Just watch Jason Lee get arrested." By this point, Jason's arrest wasn't just a story. It was a cultural phenomenon. He'd gone from gossip gatekeeper to global laughingstock, from the one holding the mic to the one being memed in orange. And the storm wasn't slowing down. If anything, it was building towards something even bigger. By the time the dust started to settle, Jason Lee's arrest wasn't just a headline anymore, it was a cultural reset. The man who made a living dragging other people's names was now the dictionary definition of poetic justice. His empire, his reputation, even his friendships. All of it looked like a Vegas casino after a hurricane. Lights still flashing, but the roof completely gone. For Jason himself, the fallout was catastrophic. Every time he tried to issue a statement, it backfired. He reportedly told a close friend, "I'll be vindicated. This is all lies." But the internet doesn't care about vindication. It cares about vibes. And the vibe was clear. Jason was guilty in the court of public opinion before his arraignment even hit the calendar. His name was no longer Jason Lee Hollywood Unlocked. It was Jason Lee Hollywood Unlocked Up. His platform, once a feared gossip machine, became a circus. Comment sections on Hollywood Unlocked turned into open mic night. Every new post, no matter the subject, was hijacked with clown emojis, bee emojis, and savage lines like, "Jason, don't drop the soap." The credibility he had built as the loudest voice in messy celebrity commentary was gone. Nobody cared what he exposed anymore, because he had been exposed himself. For Beyoncé and Jay Z, the scandal was a different story entirely. Their names being tied to Jason's arrest should have been a PR disaster. For anyone else, it would have been. But the Carters? They walked out of this untouched, maybe even stronger. Their silence was louder than a stadium concert. Fans interpreted it as confidence. If Beyoncé wasn't worried enough to respond, why should anyone else be? Theories about them pulling strings only elevated their aura. Suddenly, the Carters weren't just private and powerful. They were mythical, untouchable, capable of toppling anyone who dared speak their names out of turn, and that, of course, sparked a whole new wave of debate. Podcasts declared, Jason Lee proved you don't cross Beyoncé. YouTube analysts called it the Carter effect, how one whiff of their involvement could destroy a man's career without them lifting a finger. The silence itself became legendary, another chapter in their carefully curated mythology. Meanwhile, Jason's so-called allies in Hollywood scattered like roaches when the lights came on. People who once called him friend suddenly had amnesia. Industry insiders leaked DMs where Jason bragged about being untouchable, and those messages became receipts of arrogance. Even celebs who owed him favors weren't coming to his defense. In the gossip world, loyalty has an expiration date, and Jason's had expired the second those handcuffs clicked. The Bayhive, of course, never let up. Weeks after the arrest, they still flooded his name online, buzzing like a swarm. They turned his downfall into an anniversary-worthy event. One viral thread declared, "The day Jason Lee got humbled will forever be celebrated as Hive Independence Day." Fans lit digital candles, made tribute memes, and declared victory in the eternal war of stan culture. Jason had picked the wrong Hive to poke, and he paid for it in memes, reputation, and maybe even freedom. Even his critics and media used his arrest as a cautionary tale. Articles popped up with headlines like, "The Fall of Jason Lee, How Gossip Ate Itself Alive," and "From Blogger to Behind Bars, The Dangers of Clout Chasing." Suddenly, he wasn't just gossip fodder, he was a morality tale. A what not to do case study for every aspiring influencer who thought dragging celebrities would make them untouchable. The memes, of course, kept evolving. Jason's face photoshopped onto Monopoly's go-to-jail card. Edits of Beyoncé as Thanos, snapping her fingers and making Jason disappear. TikToks using Jay Z lyrics like 99 Problems with captions, "Unado" and "Jason Lee is one." Even his haters were having too much fun to let the scandal fade. But the darkest fallout wasn't the memes or even the Bayhive's victory laps. It was the question of what this meant for gossip culture itself. Jason had always been loud, brash, unapologetic about exploiting drama for clicks. Now, with his credibility in tatters, people wondered if the gossip empire he represented was collapsing. Could Hollywood Unlocked survive without its messy leader? Or was this the beginning of the end for the era of reckless celebrity blogs? One thing was certain, Jason Lee had become the story he swore he'd never be. And once you become the story, you lose control of the narrative. Even weeks later, fans speculated about his next move. Would he fight the charges? Would he try to spin it as a conspiracy? Would he turn his arrest into a podcast tour, milking his downfall for clicks the way he milked others' miseries? Knowing Jason, he'd try. But the damage was done, because once Beyoncé and Jay Z's names are attached to your downfall, you don't just lose, you get erased. The aftermath was a graveyard. Jason's reputation, his platform's credibility, his friendships, all gone. Beyoncé and Jay Z walked away untouched, their silence weaponized as power. And the Bayhive crowned themselves undefeated champions of internet warfare. The only cliffhanger left? Whether Jason Lee could ever crawl out of the rubble, or whether this scandal would be the final headline he'd ever star in. And there you have it, Jason Lee, the man who built a brand clowning celebrities, now clowned by the entire world. Arrested for missing millions, dragged by memes, roasted by celebs, and absolutely obliterated by the Bayhive. He wanted to control the narrative, but the narrative snatched him up, handcuffed him, and left him trending as a punchline. But now the real question lands in your lap. What do you think? Did Jason really get caught up in shady business deals, or was this a carefully orchestrated takedown by Hollywood's power couple? Did Beyoncé and Jay Z pull strings like puppet masters, or is Jason just the author of his own downfall? And let's be honest, is this the end of his empire, or the messy rebirth of a man who will monetize even his mugshot? Drop your raw theories, your wild conspiracies, and your unfiltered hot takes in the comments, because this is bigger than gossip. This is a cultural autopsy, and your opinion is part of the story. And while you're down there, smash that like button like the Bayhive smashing Jason's comment section. Hit subscribe harder than Jay Z hitting the studio with subliminals. And ring that notification bell like it owes you bail money, because trust me, the next scandal? It's already loading. Tomorrow, it could be another influencer exposed. Next week, it could be another billionaire power move. And when it drops, You know Vibe Crave will have the sharpest breakdown, the wildest exaggerations, and the savage one-liners the other channels are too scared to say. This isn't just tea, this isn't just commentary. This is scandal theater, and the show never ends. This is Vibe Crave, where the mess always tastes better hot.